Okay, guys, today we are going to do a refresher on factoring by grouping. The start of these is exactly the same as what we did last week, where you take the first value and multiply it by the third value. So 3x squared times -7. These are going to look very similar to those diamond problems again that you've done in the past. So 3x squared times -7 would be a -21x squared. Okay, and then the bottom number is going to be that middle number, so -20x, -20x. So I need to figure out two numbers that multiply to the top and then add to the bottom. And so since this is a negative number up on the top here, I would have to have a negative times a positive. Negative times a positive, or you could flip-flop it, positive times a negative. So then I have to figure out my factors, or what multiplies to 21 but adds to 20. So if you need to, you can list them out. 1 times 21, 3 times 7 would give you 21. Okay. The only combo here that would give you a -20, though, would be 1 and 21. And to get a -20, these two have to add together, so it would have to be a -21 and a +1. So some of these will just take some practice, going back over if you have to write them out, go ahead and do it. So -21x plus 1x, you don't have to write the 1, but you can. And now we are going to go to our box. There is not a shortcut with these because the a value here is not a 1. All the ones that we've done previous to this had a 1 up there, and then we could have just taken these values over here and done like x minus 21 and x plus 1, and it would work out. But we'll see here at the end, it's going to be a little different. So I'm going to take the 3x squared and the -7. You always keep the first and the last, and the middle one gets broken down into the two that we just discovered here. So I'm going to take a -21x and a plus x. Okay, I'm going to insert those into my new boxes, and now I have to take out my GCF from all of these. So between a 3x and an x, I can bring out an x. Between a -21 and a -7, if there's a negative, you will always bring out a negative. So like if it's in this row here, you would bring, if that first one's a negative, if that's the first thing you see, you bring out a negative. Same thing here. If there would be a negative here, you could bring a negative out up top. So I'm going to bring out a negative between a 21 and a 7. It would be a -7. And then you're asking yourself, well, you can bring out here, but you can also figure out, well, what times x equals 3x squared? That would be a 3x. What times x is a x? Just a 1. I cannot bring anything else out from there. So here, my answer would be x minus 7 times 3x plus 1. Okay? Or you could also have these flip-flops. So you could have 3x plus 1 times x minus 7 would be the same thing. Okay? Either one of those would work. All right, I'm going to do one more here. So I'm going to multiply. So in the numerator, it would be 6x squared times 6, which would be 36x squared. The bottom would be -13x. Okay, now since I'm multiplying to a positive number up here, my signs are going to have to be the same. Over here, since it's negative, they have to be different. Here, they have to be the same. Since I have to add to a negative number, they're both going to be subtraction. Okay, now I can list out my factors. I would have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 13, 4 and 9. Okay, so I need to figure out the two that will give me a -13. That can't give me a -13. 13, nope, 13, down here, 4 and 9. Yeah, and if you know your multiplication facts, this will go a lot better for you. Okay, if not, you can still list them out, and you should have a calculator of some sort. If not, you can use one from online. Okay, so then my two numbers are going to be negative 4x and negative 9x. So I can do a quick solve. Negative times a negative is a positive 36. Negative 4 minus 9 is negative 13. So I'm going to go down and do my box. And then I'm going to bring the first and the last, 6x squared, plus 6 at the bottom. And my two new ones are going to be the ones that I just came up with from over here. Okay, I'm going to have a negative 4x, negative 9x. Okay, then when I go back and I bring out the GCF, between a 6x squared, again, I did not see a negative here, so I'm not bringing out a negative, 6x squared and negative 4x, I can bring out a 2x between the two. Now I see the negative here, so I can bring out a negative. Between a 9 and a 6, I can bring out a 3. On the top part here, I can ask myself, what times 2x is 6x squared? That would be a 3x. Or a 3 can be brought out between those two. Here's a negative. Okay, between a 4 and a 6, I can bring out a 2. Or what times 2x is negative 4x? That would be a negative 2. Okay, you can check your area then for all of these. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. Negative 2 times negative. So you're just reverse distributing. So then I would have for my answer over here, I would have 2x minus 3 and 3x minus 2. And again, these two could be flip-flopped. Okay, now notice I can't just take these numbers that I found and just plug them into my parentheses. We have to use the rectangles for these, for the area models. And remember, you only have to get 3 out of 4 correct. Okay, so persevere through it. Try the best you can. I can help you then if you need help.